Hi guys, I honestly cannot believe that I'm filming this video today, but I just felt like I needed to share this. As you can probably tell from the title and by the lack of videos, because I haven't posted I think in about 2 weeks or something, and even the video that I posted 2 weeks ago, it was like a cleaning marathon, so it was just, you know, pre-filmed footage. So I haven't posted in a while, and I have gotten questions from you guys on Instagram, just messages asking if we're okay. So thank you for checking in on us. So yeah, I had a miscarriage last week. I just felt like I wanted to share my story because the one thing that really helped me through the grieving process and kind of helped me feel more normal is hearing other people talk about it. I've been watching so many videos on YouTube from other people who have gone through a miscarriage or like a missed miscarriage, which I had, and just kind of reading stories online, and it's just been really helpful to me. I know everyone kind of grieves differently, so not everyone's the same. Obviously, some people don't feel like talking about it, which is obviously fine, but to me, I feel like it really helped me. And I feel like it helps me to open up as well. Yeah, that's why I decided to film today's video. So if you are going through this as well, please know that you are not alone. I don't want to cry in this video, even though it's a really emotional topic to talk about, but I've cried so much in the past few weeks, and I just feel like I'm kind of ready to move on. But I did want to share what happened before I do that. Obviously, I'm never going to forget what happened, but I just kind of want to, you know, pick myself up and just try to move on. So we have been trying for baby number 2. If you are new around here, I already have a son named Victor. He is 3 years old. He just turned 3 the past weekend, like a bit over a week ago. And I'm just honestly, right now, I feel like I'm so grateful to have him, more than I've ever been. So we've been trying for baby number 2, not for too long. I think it was just 2 months, and we got pregnant this summer, so we were very excited about that. I started having all the pregnancy symptoms. I've been so sick for the past 3 months. It's kind of weird thinking about it now, because I feel like it was kind of, I don't know, it just feels like it was all for nothing, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I had morning sickness. I was really tired, so I kind of felt a bit guilty because I was just kind of, you know, I wanted to lay on the sofa all the time, and I just felt so tired. And yeah, so I was having all these symptoms. I saw my midwife. I just had, you know, all the tests that you're supposed to have. I was booked in for my first scan. I think I was supposed to be, according to my calculation, like the first day of your last period. I was supposed to be, I think, 11 weeks and 5 days or something like that, so not quite 12 weeks. But that's when they booked my first scan, which was I think the first scan here is supposed to be around 12 weeks. So that's when they booked it in. I wanted to have it done. My husband was with me, thankfully, because it was the local hospital, so they did allow partners to come with you. And my son was in nursery, so it kind of worked out perfectly. We kind of scheduled it for the morning so that he would be in nursery, so, you know, my husband could come with me, because you cannot bring children. So I think all hospitals have different policies now with the pandemic, which is a whole other story. But yeah, for our local hospital, I could go in with my husband. So we went in for that scan, and everything looked fine. The baby was measuring a bit small. It was about, I think, a week earlier than I thought. It was, I think, 10 weeks and measuring 10 weeks and 4 days or something like that. It was about a week earlier than I had originally thought. I kept asking, you know, is there a problem? Like, does everything look okay? Do you think there's an issue with the baby? And they kept saying, no, everything looks fine. They could see the heartbeat. Baby was growing fine. It was just earlier than we thought. And they said, most likely I just had my dates wrong, or like I had ovulated later than I thought, which obviously happens because your body's not always super regular. So yeah, they just said everything looks fine, baby is, you know, measuring well, it had a heartbeat. So that was really reassuring, because all the statistics say that once you hear a heartbeat, I think after 8 weeks or something, then your chance of miscarriage goes down a lot once you hear that heartbeat. So we actually felt really reassured after that scan. And yeah, so I still have that picture of little baby at 10 weeks. So everything looked fine, and they rescheduled me for another scan in 2 weeks time, because as I was only 10 weeks and a few days, they said they couldn't do the genetic screening. You know, at 12 weeks they usually do the a combined screening, I think it's called, for like Down syndrome, and it just tests a whole lot of anomalies like that. So they rebooked me for a scan in 2 weeks time, so that baby would be almost 13 weeks. So that's when they would do the genetic screening. So in that time between the 2 scans, I actually felt so sick. I felt so pregnant. I had no bleeding whatsoever. I had no cramps, nothing. I just, and as my scan approached, I just kind of felt really kind of relieved, because I just, you know, when you're pregnant, you kind of have that milestone in mind that once you reach like 12, 13 weeks, if everything looks fine, then, you know, you're kind of in the clear. Like, obviously things could go wrong throughout the entire pregnancy, but the chances of that happening go down a lot. So I just felt really good. I was really content, and I kind of felt like I was in the clear, you know, because I had no bleeding, I had no symptoms like that. Everything looked fine. I had morning sickness, which is also a good sign, because they say if you have pregnancy symptoms, it means your pregnancy hormones are quite high, so that's a good sign. So we went in for our next scan with my husband again, because we kind of scheduled it again to be in the morning so we could go together. And we went in, and actually the sonographer, is that what they're called? I think so, or the ultrasound technician, when we got to the hospital, they told us that she had developed COVID symptoms or something like that, and she couldn't come in that day, and they had tried to call me about 10 minutes before I went to the appointment, but I didn't answer. I think I just didn't hear my phone, because we were already on the way there. So they said, you know, we have to reschedule the appointment because obviously the sonographer isn't there, and they said I could either rebook it for about a week from that point, or I could go the same day to a different hospital out of town where they could do the scan and the combined screening. And we chose to do that, to go the same day, because I was supposed to be I think nearly 13 weeks at the time of that scan. And the thing with the combined screening is you have to do it between a certain time frame. So I think you have to do it by the time you're 14 weeks or something. And I was already 13 weeks, and I just felt like I didn't want to wait another week for that test, just because I just wanted to get it done and make sure that it's done before that kind of cutoff time. So we said just reschedule it that same day, and we went to a hospital out of town. My husband drove me, and we had Victor with us because he had come out of nursery by that point. And they waited for me in the car, because you cannot go in with a child, and I actually am not sure if at that hospital my husband could come in. Obviously it doesn't matter because he was with Victor anyway, so it's not like we could just leave him in the car. So they waited for me outside. I went in, and I honestly did not expect anything to happen. I just, as I said, I kind of felt like I was in the clear. I felt like everything was okay. I already had a baby bump. None of my jeans fit me, and even now they don't fit me. And so I went in for the scan, and the sonographer started, you know, doing the ultrasound. She was just kind of making a bit of small talk, and I remember when she first put the like the picture on the screen, I felt so relieved because I could see the baby had grown. Like if you have been pregnant before, you know, you kind of know what the baby is supposed to look like at each appointment. So at the 10-week one, I could tell that it was small, but you know, it was still quite early. So I was kind of hoping that at my 12 one, I could see the baby had grown, because by the time you go for your 12 one, it looks like a proper baby. You can see the hands and the feet, and it's just really distinguishable and just a lot bigger and more developed. So when she first put that picture on the screen, I felt so relieved because I could see that it's a lot bigger than it was the last time. I felt like, oh, okay, the baby has grown, so that's a good sign, everything's fine. So she just kept doing the ultrasound, and I remember she went really quiet, and I just thought, you know, she's probably just concentrating on getting all the pictures or the, you know, the measurements that she needs. And she kept measuring, you know, they measured the crown to rump length, because that shows how further along you are, or like how big the baby is in terms of weeks. And she measured that a few times, and it showed on the screen, I can't remember exactly, but it was 5 point something centimeters. So that's the length of the baby. I think they estimated that it was 12 weeks and 2 days, and by this point I was supposed to be nearly 13 weeks, or yeah, I think nearly 13 weeks. So I kind of felt like, oh, okay, that's a bit weird, but maybe it's just like a smaller baby, which I don't think that happens, or like I don't think that's the case when it's this early, like in the first trimester. So as I said, she was just really quiet. She kept, you know, measuring, taking pictures, doing everything like that. And then at one point she just kind of stopped doing the ultrasound. I could still see the picture on the screen, but she stopped doing the ultrasound, and she just asked me, are you alone today? And I just felt like it was kind of weird. And I said, no, my husband and my son are waiting for me outside the hospital. And then she just said, you know, I'm sorry, but I don't see a heartbeat today. And when she first said that, I think I was kind of in shock. I did not expect that at all. I felt like everything was fine, and I felt fine. I have felt pregnant, like I had morning sickness, and you know, my bump was growing, and I had no bleeding, so it just felt so weird. And yeah, I was just in shock, and I obviously started crying. And after that she said, you know, before she gives kind of like an official diagnosis or whatever, she has to go and call someone else in to do the ultrasound as well. I think they probably don't base like a decision like this on just one person. So she went and got another, I have no idea if it was like a doctor or another technician or some, I honestly cannot remember. But yeah, someone else came in, they did the ultrasound again, and they said, yeah, that there's no heartbeat. You know, she said if I could just wait for a few minutes, she would go and get a consultant, I think they said. So I was left in the room, you know, to kind of dress up as well. And I texted my husband, like letting him know what happened, and then I called him, and we just kind of chatted for a few minutes, and then the consultant came in, and they took me to a different room. It's called the Sweet Pea consultation room, which felt really weird. It's just kind of like a small room with 2 sofas or like armchairs, and there's like a box of tissue on the table. It just, you know, it felt kind of weird. And you go through the hallway with all the pregnant ladies waiting for their scans. So yeah, she just kind of walked me through what happened. She said, so the consultant said it's nothing that I did, which I know, I feel like in one way it's kind of comforting to hear that, but at the same time it's just not very helpful. So yeah, she said it's nothing that I did, that it's likely a chromosomal problem with the baby. That's what usually happens. in early miscarriages, which I feel like mine was kind of at the border between early and like a second trimester miscarriage, because the baby was measuring 12 weeks and 2 days, and by the time I actually miscarried I was nearly 14 weeks, or I was, you know, supposed to be. So yeah, everyone was really nice. Honestly, everyone at the hospital was really compassionate and really kind, and that kind of helped. Yeah, they just said, especially since I already had a healthy pregnancy with my first son, it's most likely nothing to do with my body or anything that I did. It was just, you know, the baby probably had a problem that was not compatible with life. So she gave me like some flyers with a lot of information that I could read at home about missed miscarriage, because that's what I had. So when you have a miscarriage, or like baby dies but you don't actually miscarry, it's called a missed miscarriage. She told me about the options that I had, because I was obviously, I felt like, well, what's going to happen now, because I still have a baby in there, but obviously it's gone. So basically, at least that's what I have been told at this hospital. I think it kind of depends on the hospital, but they said I have 3 options. So they kind of explained it to me, and I could either wait at home for it to happen naturally, which is called expectant management of miscarriage or something like that. So I could either wait at home naturally for it to happen, and she told me it could take days or it could take weeks. You never know how long it's going to take for your body to kind of process what happened. And by the time I went in, baby had already passed for a few days and my body was not giving me any signs yet. Yes, she said I could either wait at home if I felt comfortable doing that. They have the option to do a medical miscarriage, where they give you I think it's like some tablets or something that kind of induce labor, or like induce the miscarriage, and you still wait at home for it to happen naturally, but they kind of give you that pill to get it started. And in some women it works, in some women it doesn't, but that's always an option. And then the last option was to have surgery, to have it removed by them. I think it used to be called DNC, but they said it's not called that anymore, because it's not a DNC anymore. It's like I think they do give you something to dilate and then they kind of suction it out, so it's not the same as it used to be before. I think it's less invasive, but it's still surgery, like you have to be put under. And at this hospital they did general anesthesia for this. So she said, you know, I don't have to decide right away, because obviously I was still kind of in shock and I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was kind of terrified of the idea of going to hospital and have them remove it for me, but then at the same time I just felt scared just waiting at home. So she said I don't have to decide, but if I do want the surgery, the earliest they could book me in was on Friday. And so I went in for my scan. It was on the 15th of October, which funnily enough is the, I had no idea, but it's the, like, what's it called, the pregnancy loss or like infant loss awareness day. I had no idea up until this point, but yeah, that's when I went in for my scan. So it was on a Thursday, and they said they could book me in for a surgery if I wanted to do that a week, so on the Friday the next week. So it was a bit over a week to wait for the surgery. That was the earliest that they could book it. So she said I don't have to decide right away, but if I do want to get it done, I could book it in when I was with her at that point, and then if I changed my mind at any point, or if I started miscarrying at home, I could just give them a call and cancel, and it would be no problem. So I just decided to do that. I decided to book it in because I don't know, I honestly don't know why I decided to do that. I just felt like I needed to have that timeline in mind. So I booked it in on that Friday, and I just kept thinking, you know, maybe it happens at home and I don't have to come in. So it was over a week wait. So I honestly, when I got home, I just cried for the first few days. That's pretty much all I did. And then I kind of started feeling angry. I just felt so angry at my body for not miscarrying, for not giving me a sign that, you know, something was wrong. You know, that you don't have a reason for why it happened, which, I mean, obviously the doctors have no fault because they don't know the reason. So it's usually just, you know, a chromosomal problem. So they just tell you, you know, these things just happen, which I just felt angry about that. I felt angry that I didn't have a reason for why it happened. I also felt angry for being sick for 3 months, and now, you know, it all being gone at the point where you're supposed to kind of, like, the symptoms are supposed to ease off and you're supposed to feel better. And even in the week where I waited for the surgery, I still had all those symptoms. I still felt pregnant, which I just felt really angry about. So I guess it's kind of like the stages of grief, isn't it? But yeah, that's how I felt. And I decided to go ahead with the surgery because for one, I was kind of terrified of like having a miscarriage at home, because the baby was quite large. They had told me that you know, it was measuring 12 weeks and 2 days, which is quite a big baby already, and it's got the placenta and everything around it. So, and I could see my tummy, like, you know, I already had a baby bump. I think it's also because it's my second pregnancy, so obviously your body kind of knows what to do and it grows a bit faster. But yeah, just the thought of kind of miscarrying all of that at home was a bit terrifying to me. I didn't want to see the baby. That was, you know, I was just really terrified that I was going to see the baby if I miscarried at home, and I didn't want that. So I just decided to go in with the surgery because it just felt right for me. I don't think there's a right or wrong when it comes to these things. It's just what's right for you, what makes you feel more comfortable. I think a lot of people, or like some people, feel more comfortable waiting at home because you're in the comfort of your own home. But I just felt, for me, I felt like I needed to go and have it done, because just kind of waiting around at home for weeks, possibly waiting for it to happen, honestly, I feel like it would affect my sanity even more. So I had to have that kind of date in mind where I would go in and it would, you know, be over. Even though obviously you never really, I don't think you ever really get over this, but you know what I mean, like the physical part of it would be over. So I went in for my pre-assessment a few days before surgery. They give you blood tests. I can't really remember. They go through all the consent forms and just everything like that, to just kind of tell you about the procedure, how to prepare for it. They gave me a COVID test, which is just, you know, one thing on top of everything, which was actually, the COVID test was not that bad. I expected it to be worse because obviously I was still feeling sick. I still had morning sickness, and the thought of them kind of poking down the back of my throat was a bit scary, to be honest, but it wasn't that bad. I feel like the swab is kind of small, so you barely feel it. So yeah, they gave me a COVID test, and it's negative. I don't have it. Yeah, they just kind of went through everything, and they gave me a tablet to take the morning of surgery. And that tablet, I think it's called misoprostol or Cytotec in the US, because my prospect actually said both names on it. Anyway, so they give you that to take it home because it helps to dilate your cervix. And the one that I was given is one that you swallow with water, so you don't, I've heard of some that you have to kind of push up like a tampon. Yeah, I went in on that Friday. I had to get up really early in the morning because we were going to the hospital out of town. Yeah, my husband and my son just dropped me off at the hospital, and then they came in and they kind of came to pick me up after it was done, because you cannot have anyone with you. I'm not sure if it's just because of COVID or if it's just the rules for this type of procedure. I have no idea, but I couldn't have anyone with me. but I mean, thankfully it was not a long hospital stay. It's just like a day surgery. So you go in, or at least for my case, I went in I had to be in at 7 a.m. and I think I was discharged from hospital at around 12 p.m. or something. So I was only in hospital for about 5 hours, which, you know, is not that long, but when you're going through this, it feels like a lot longer. So I think the surgery part of it was not that bad. If you have, or if you choose to go and do the surgery, the surgical management of miscarriage, it's not that bad. I mean, I think the worst part was them putting the cannula in my arm. I still have bruises on my arms because they tried multiple times. I think they said I had really tiny veins and they kind of struggled with it. So I think that was the worst part, like physically having them put that in, and then basically you just go to sleep, because the one that I had, it's with general anesthesia, and you obviously you don't feel anything, you're just put to sleep, and then when you wake up it's gone. So yeah, everyone at the hospital was really nice. Honestly, I feel like I'm really grateful for the NHS that we have here. I think they were really amazing, and they made the whole process as easy as possible for me. And yeah, so I just woke up and it was done, and I just kind of felt relief, because for the week that I had waited at home while like still being pregnant, I mean, you know, with the baby still in my tummy, it felt really distressing to me, because I don't know if it's because it's my second pregnancy, or like it was my second pregnancy, but if I laid on my back, I could feel where my uterus was, like I could feel where the baby was. Obviously it's kind of padded around, but you know what I mean. I could see the baby bump, and it was really upsetting me. So I did feel kind of relieved that it was all done, and I could, you know, start to move on from there. So when I woke up from surgery, they you know, they brought me some snacks, because I had not eaten all day, because you're not supposed to eat before general anesthesia, obviously. So yeah, I had something to eat, and then my doctor, the one that performed the surgery, came in, and she gave me an ultrasound just to kind of check that everything was gone, and she said most of it was gone. She said you could see a tiny piece of tissue, but that I would likely lose that you know, throughout the next few days or with my next period. So yeah, she wasn't concerned about that. She said I should take a pregnancy test in 2 weeks time after the surgery, and if the test came back negative, then all is good. It means, you know, everything's gone, all the hormones and everything like that have kind of left your body, and that if it's positive, I have to go back in for like an assessment to see what's going on, to see if there's any issues. Hopefully that won't be the case. I'm going to take that test in about 2 weeks time. That's what she said. She also said I actually lost quite a lot of blood. She said I lost a lot more than they expected me to for this type of procedure, and she said it's most likely because the pregnancy was, you know, quite further along, like the baby was quite big. So she said I should just make sure that I kind of, you know, take it easy and get she said I should take some vitamins with iron, just to make sure I you know, feel back to normal as soon as possible. And I think the main concern with things like this is that you might develop anemia, which hopefully I won't. And then I think after surgery I was released within, I think, an hour or two. I mean, an hour from the moment I woke up, but I think the surgery was over way before I woke up from my anesthesia, because I was quite dizzy for a while. So yeah, so it is a horrible thing to go through, and regardless of how old the baby was or how early the pregnancy was, it is still a really distressing experience. So if you're going through this, please know that you are not alone, and do speak to someone about it, because at least in my opinion, I think it really helps to open up to someone you trust. I feel like I kind of want to get over it and move on with my life and get busy again, because for the past few weeks that's all I've been doing, just sitting on the sofa and feeling like crap, and I don't want to do that anymore. I know it's part of the grieving process, and I do think I kind of needed that, but at the same time I feel like I just want to, you know, kind of move on. I want to pick back up on YouTube and restart filming all of my videos again, because I actually really enjoy doing that, and you know, it brings me a lot of joy and kind of, you know, motivates me. And I feel like you do need to have something to keep you going, especially when you go through something like this. So that's what I'm going to try to do, just kind of get back into filming. I feel like this was a really long video, so I'm sorry about that, but yeah, I guess I just wanted to share my story. I hope it helps to make it a bit less of a taboo subject, because I feel like it should be talked about more. I had no idea that 1 in 4 women go through a miscarriage, and that's a lot. Like that's a lot of women who go through this, and a lot of pregnancies who end up in miscarriage. And it's something that I don't feel like should be shameful or hidden away, because it's just something that happens, and having a support system around you and being able to talk about it, I just think it's really helpful. So yeah, I feel like we all need to talk about it more. I guess I never expected it to happen to me, because for one, I already had a healthy pregnancy, so I kind of felt like, you know, my body knows what it's doing, so it's going to be fine. And I also kind of naively thought that, you know, I'm really young. I just turned 28 last week, or like a couple of weeks ago, and I just like, you know, because I'm young, I shouldn't have any issues. And I already had a healthy pregnancy, and you know, the odds are kind of in your favor, because you know, I'm really healthy. Otherwise I have no health issues, so you know, you kind of have the odds in your favor. But at the same time, these things just happen, and it's nothing about you. So I feel like no one is exempt from something like this, which is why I think people should talk about it more, because it could happen to anyone, and most likely you have someone around you who has gone through something like this, whether they shared it with you or not. And at the same time, I feel like people need to be really sensitive when they talk about subjects like this, because I've heard so many times either people asking me or someone around me, oh, when are you going to have a baby? Or oh, are you pregnant because you look like you've got a bit of a bump? Or, you know, when are you going to have your next baby? And I just feel like questions like that are very, very personal. And if someone is pregnant, maybe they're not ready to share it yet, so you asking them about it is, you know, kind of taking it away from them, because maybe they want to announce it in a certain way, and you're stealing that away from them. Or maybe they're having issues getting pregnant, or maybe they had a miscarriage. And yeah, I guess I just wanted to say, never ask questions like that, because they can be really hurtful to some people. So yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this up, because I don't want to get even more emotional than I am. I guess I will see you in my next video, because I'm planning to start making more videos again and kind of trying to feel normal again. So yeah, I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.